Your son Logan and his legacy, the Logan Boulet Effect, really ignited this country. It inspired conversations about organ donation all across Canada and around the world. In 2019, I was invited to speak at a high school in Langley, BC, to a class of graduating students, all of whom were going to be turning 19 within the next year or so, and they would then have the opportunity to make their own decision about registering to be an organ donor. I was joined by hockey PB coach Stephen Gillis, who at that time was in need of a kidney transplant. The feedback we received from these graduating students was one that was full of gratitude for Logan, for setting an example and for helping them to understand the power that they held to save a life one day, just as Logan had done. That was a moment that has stayed with me. It's the meaning of Green Shirt Day, that it's about the power that each one of us holds to save lives.
I love your story you just told, Barb, because, we get that in Lethbridge, and we get a little bit outside of it, but we don't. It was on the radio in Lethbridge today that the high school that I taught at, and I don't know anything about this, is that they're organizing an art show with their art classes. Not a real show, it'll be a virtual show, all inspired by the Humboldt Bronco tragedy in Logan Boulet.
As classroom teachers, we're talking about Green Shirt Day, and one of the teachers who's teaching grade 1 at our school, she had a conversation with her students about Green Shirt Day and just about Logan and what that it was coming up. And one little guy who is connected to our family through his mom, he put up his hand and he's all excited and he's talking about that. I'm going to be an organ donor because that's the right thing to do. And here's a little 6-year-old guy saying that that's what he wants to do. And he talked about the fact that his family had talked about Logan and his family had talked about organ donor registration and being an organ donor and what that means. And for little kids to be able to say that, I think it makes it easier on their families, because it's more of them saying, this is something I can do. It's kind of a regular thing. It's something that is important. It's a way I can give back. And rather than having, as I said before, like the doom and the gloom of what people think often of organ donation and the passing of someone. So that was just kind of a really cool story to hear. And the teacher told me that she just thought that it was so neat how the kids were excited and kids went home and talked about it with their families. So that's just kind of inspiring, because in my world of teaching grade 2 and 7 and 8-year-olds, and the kids are stop at the bulletin board and they just talk about it. So that's what we really want to happen from this, is it to be more of a conversation and not something that people are worried about and like how to breach the subject.
What do you think Logan would say to all this, that he has done, that he's got something called Logan's legacy and the Logan Boulet Effect, and that all of this groundswell has come about, as a result of his decision to do this and really change the playing field around organ donor awareness and education and save lives.
We get asked that question a lot, like, what would Logan think? Like, what would he think about all of this? And Logan, he was the kind of the person that when he walked into a room, he kind of be quiet, but he was able to light up the room with his smile, and he would be a person that would get people involved in what was happening. But he was not the kind of person that was like, hey, look at me, look, I'm here, the party can start, because he did like to party. But he was not that kind of person. So all of this, I'm quite sure he would say, like, this is a little bit much. I don't need all this recognition. I don't need to have like the Logan Boulet effect. What I did was the right thing to do. I was not going to need my organs. I was going to a place that I wouldn't need them anymore. Other people could use them. I could make the lives better of other people. It was the right thing to do. And he would I think he'd be overwhelmed by all of the Logan Boulet effect and the Green Shirt Day, that it was more than he needed. He didn't need that recognition. He didn't do this. He didn't do the stuff to have that recognition. It was team first. And community first and other people first. And so this would just be his way of giving back. So yeah, he would just say, no, this is too much. This is not what I need. I'm not doing this for the recognition.
At the heart of it all, he was your son and you were mom and dad. We want to ask, how are you both doing heading into the third year of Green Shirt Day?
It was a hard day today for me. I wrote Logan's memorial for the paper. I also had to write some other things that were quite hard to write, and it's tough. Some days are real tough and some days are not as tough. I still go down every morning and turn Logan's light on, and we take turns or whatever, turn off when we go to bed at night. Logan loves sunshine. He loved light. He liked sunshine. And so sunny days are important to us. If it's a sunny day, our front door's open. And it's those little things like that that make it easier for me. And we all grieve at different levels and different patterns. We've learned that from counseling and talking to people and getting advice from people we don't ask for, but we get it. And most of the time it's bang on. And so it's just I had a lady write me a card once that I taught with years ago, and she said in the card, about 6 months after, she mailed the card and said, I hope things are beginning to soften around the edges. And I thought, what do you mean? But now the edges are softening for me. Still very hard in the middle.
Yeah, I don't, like, as Toby said, some days you just roll right along. It's like nothing happened, and then something will happen and it just like impacts you, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember now, like, that this happened. As we get closer, it's like, oh yeah, this is what I did 3 years ago. This is what we did 3 years ago. And so those kind of things are all hard. I got asked today, okay. So I got asked today because we're gonna have Green Shirt Day at our school next Wednesday on the 31st, because we have our spring break or our Easter break when Green Shirt Day is actually on, so we can't have it that day. And I have to have a meeting after school on the 31st about a student in my class, and another person said to me, well, are you sure that you are gonna be okay to have it on the 31st? And I said, yeah, I'll be fine. And she goes, well, it's Green Shirt Day at this school. Are you going to be okay? And I just said, you know, it may be a day that'll be more emotional or more impactful, but it's a day that I just need to work through. And sometimes having things that keep me busy are good, and that makes my day just go a little bit better than a day that I have to sit and think lots about what happened and what we're coming up to, which sometimes that makes it more difficult to deal with that day, is because I have to deal with like more of those thoughts and those memories. So I don't think that my time necessarily, or my days are easier or better, but I think exactly what the lady who sent us that card, it's just getting a little bit softer. It's not as harsh. It's not as hard to take. And you can work your way through things a little bit better than I could have done 2 years ago, but it's still not always easy. And so some days are better than other days.